Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, PeopleCert, for hosting this event. And thank you to our audience for your attention today. Sometimes this stuff is hard to listen to all day long when you're doing tool selection, so I greatly appreciate your attention and patience as we go through this stuff. Service management is complex, and while service teams need something flexible, they don't need to build it from scratch. And I should know because I spent a career building service management systems from scratch. Hi, I'm Matt Barron, and I'm a service management geek, consultant, trainer, and YouTuber. After more than 15 years implementing service management systems for some of the largest companies in the world, I realized that we probably don't need to build incident management from scratch for every single company. So I went and found InvGate, a company that provides not only a software as a service solution, but also a self-hosted solution and thinks like a software company. Software should make our lives better. It should make our problems less complex and not more complicated. And what does that mean to service management teams? What do service management teams want? Autonomy, simplicity, and adoption. If you're seeing these things on your screen right now and thinking, yeah, I would love to make my job more simple. I would love to automate some of my lower value work. You're in the right place. So what do most service management teams want to address these things? We've got an actual no-code solution. You literally cannot use code in our software. If you want to, you can create a middleware layer or an API integration to build your own interface, but no code is in here. We also provide software to make your life easier. Instead of you having to figure out how to make your life simpler, we're doing that for you, thinking about how we can make asset management better, how we can make service management easier. And of course, a great user experience drives organic adoption. I can put these words in front of you all you want or all I want, but really what we should do is prove it to you. So I'm going to go into our software and do that now. Once I move this over to the correct monitor. There we go. Okay, cool. And this is a demo environment, so you'll see me logging in and out a couple times, but just know, obviously, there would be an actual sign into our software using SSO, most likely. So for our demo today, I'm going to show you real quickly. First of all, let's just assume that someone from HR and finance says, hey, as part of our employee onboarding, offboarding, we also need to collect their corporate credit card. So me as a service desk manager, I'm going in here to our workflow and saying, hey, I got to add a step in here. So I go to my employee offboarding workflow. I see the visual flow of the work. You know, all of these nodes in here, this kind of works exactly as you would expect it. If I double click on these, it opens the form that's going to offboard this employee. And I can see the steps that are happening. You know, we're doing a conditional. Do they work in an actual physical location? If so, we got to tell corporate security. If not, we can go on to these other tasks. And you can see we're sharing HR tasks, we're sharing IT tasks. And what I want to do is right before we collect these IT assets, I'm going to add a step. And I'm just going to go here, click on task, which I can't see which one is task. That one must be task. And what I'm going to do is double click on this task, and I'm just going to name it right away. I'm going to say, hey, collect the corporate credit card. Nothing crazy there. And there are some options up here for how you want to manage this task. Like, do you want the workflow to continue? Do you want it to automatically close when tasks are done? That sort of thing. But what I'm going to do is create an actual task here. And this has to be done. Collect the credit card. This has to be done in order for this request to advance. And I'm going to assign it to someone on one of our teams. Let's say, for instance, someone on finance. I think David is our finance dude. And you can set other things like a description, a due date relative to when the workflow is kicking off, all that sort of thing. What's great though is then when I go back to my graphical workflow, I then see the individual task that I need to complete in order to collect this credit card and move on. Very easy, very simple. You don't need to wait for admins. You don't need to be doing code. Now let's say, for instance, that someone from the legal department says, hey, we need to start providing notary services. There's a new service we want to provide. So in here, I would go to our legal category and say, hey, I need a new request item in here. And maybe that is just notarizing, or I'll just put notary for now. And what we need to do is also provide a description for that. So I'm just going to paste in something here. And then to make the portal great, we want to use keywords to identify this item so that when they search for notarization or authorization, that they get this specific request. We've got an awesome LLM feature here that pulls basically the other words you would associate with notaries and puts those in here in the search terms, and you can edit these to your heart's content. We have some other options here about how we want to handle workflow, how we want to handle the workload. But at this point, I'm going to really just push this over to my legal team. No fancy stuff needed. But if I do want automatic assignment rules, I can set those up here and say, hey, if they're in South America, send it to this legal team. And if they're in Europe, send it to this legal team. So lots of options for complexity in here and for complex environments, but it can also be really easy to use, which is a great thing. Now I'm going to select a body template in here, and this is just a form that's going to show me, that's going to collect the correct information for this request. And I can't quite read this, so I need to scroll. Notary form, there it is. I pre-made this notary form. All it is a simple field that asks, what kind of document they need notarized. And now I'll just go create that item. So I can go into a new request as an agent. I can search for notary. It's going to pull up that specific request. I can go and fill out that form that's very complex. I need to notarize a financial document. Something really simple. Maybe I need to fill in some other fields that are specific to our environment. But at this point, I can just submit and this request is going to get created. Very fast, very easy way to change your catalog. I miss these days of software. Every once in a while, I think back to when we used to use software. I can't imagine how much time this would take to build in an open platform. So we've got some other things in here to make your life simple because, like I said, service desks, service management, IT is chaotic. It's always changing. And so to make our lives a little bit easier, we create UIs that make your life easier. For instance, this is the manager view for service desk managers. So this is an easy way for me to see who on my team is here and available today, who's out, who's checked out for the day. I can see my queue along the right-hand side, and I can manage my team's work and see what their work is like. So it really is like a snapshot into the people that I manage. And I manage multiple teams across multiple continents. So this is super important because I don't have visibility into who's in the office in Europe or the US or South America. Now, there are automated routing rules for our tickets. You don't always need to have a queue, but if you do have a manual queue or somewhere where you're selecting work, you can then simply drag and drop these tickets. So by selecting that ticket, you can see it only shows me team members that can do that kind of work. They're on the right team to do that kind of work. So very easy way to assign work. If someone calls in and says, hey, I'm out of the office today, I got a sick kid, came down with COVID, whatever it is, you can select that agent, see all of their work, and reassign stuff as you need to. Very handy, very fast way to get into what people are working on. And if I go into something like this CRM request, as a manager, I can now see what Chase was working on. And I can see that there's a dialogue going on, there's a discussion. Well, I need to get updated on this ticket really quickly. How do we make this simpler for service desk managers? Well, using this AI button here, we can quickly summarize this ticket. So it's pushing all this ticket information out to an LLM and then coming back and telling me who said what and how often they said it. I can publish this to the ticket so that people don't have to generate this again. They can just get a quick update right here, which is great for closed tickets. And that way I don't have to regenerate it again later. Now, there is another AI feature in here, and that is better agent responses. I don't know about you, but when I was a service desk agent, I would always be trying to move as fast as possible. And oftentimes that kind of came off as curt or rude. So what I would do is put in something like this. Hey, here's some simple instructions. But now with LLMs, we can simply improve that response. So it's pushing that out to a public LLM, and that LLM is going to come back and give us better phrasing. Now, you can, of course, turn these features on and off for yourself, but if you've got agents that are a bit terse, this is a great feature to have. Now, for adoption, you'll see in our interface that we focus very hard on making sure that things are kind of as you would expect them to be, where you expect them to be, and how you expect them to look. And the same thing goes for your end users. If you're designing a self-service portal, there are some obvious UI elements that you should copy from other systems. For instance, having your navigation along the top. Everyone expects to see their profile picture and be able to manage their profile up in the top right. Here's the search box. All very useful things, but also it's where the user expects them. And this way you don't have to train your users. And your service desk team and your service management team don't need to be experts at UI and software design. We're doing that for you. So you can see the customer down here on the left-hand side, they're going to see everything that's important to them. My open tickets, what I need to pay attention to. And on the right are things that are suggested to them. You might want to request these things. Maybe you want to take a vacation. So that's one way that we make it simpler for your customers. And this is really important because the easier that your portals are to use, the easier that self-service is to use, the less likely that they're going to interrupt your agents and interrupt your days. Now, there are some other features in here that drive adoption within your teams. And I think the most important one is the My Work section. Agents spend 8 to 10 to 12 to 16 hours a day working on tickets. And really, we just want to be powerful. We just want to be able to get our job done and get back to inbox zero. So you'll see in here, we've taken a lot of time and effort to design this in ways that make agents powerful. First and foremost, you see colors that indicate the urgency of your tickets and your SLAs. Here's 2 SLAs I've missed. They're red. These tickets are red here because they're waiting for me. They're waiting in line. And if I need to quickly get these out of here, I can just quickly say, hey, I'm waiting for the customer. I'm waiting for a specific date. If I want to change the way that this looks, maybe I don't like tickets in card form. I like them in list form. We want to be able to give agents the ability to quickly and easily customize their workspace. If I don't like that sidebar, I can pull that off and just focus on my tickets. The sidebar is nice because it's got some reminders on there and subtasks, but some people do need to see full picture, what's going on. Lastly, I'll talk about the dashboard. This is a huge part of our differentiation. We allow dashboards for every user. You don't have to have a special license to edit, create, manage your own dashboards. Let your agents do it. Because if you're trying to get your agents to reach their goals, hit their bonuses, one of the best ways you can do is to give them the information to then focus on, am I meeting those goals? So a lot of agents that we see love being able to manage their own dashboards. Now, some other things that you'll see in here specifically are that it's just really easy to use. Like on this dashboard, for example, if I'm going to edit, you're going to see the edit button there. It's going to come up exactly as you expect it to be. And you haven't seen me mention at all any time that we do asset management. And this is a huge part of who we are. In fact, InvGate stands for Inventory Gateway. The way that we started was we saw this explosion of devices in the market, and we realized that we needed to have a way to track all of those assets from beginning, purchase, procurement, all the way to destruction. So we sell this as a separate solution. For obvious reasons in our market, software and hardware asset management are not only expensive to manage, but very complex. And it's something that we like to focus on. So as part of InvGate Asset Management, we have several ways to collect your assets in here. You can install an agent on your machines. You can do discovery. You can import them from a CSV, whatever you really want to do. But when I get in here for my assets, let's say that Nancy's calling up and I need to just fix Nancy's computer. Well, here's her notebook, and I can quickly see that her notebook is in not great shape because it's not online. So that's probably what Nancy's calling about. Looking through here, though, you can see all the details for this system. On the hardware tab, you see not only the hardware details, but also how much RAM is in each slot of your computer, not just total RAM. How many logical drives do you have mounted on this machine? What printers and GPUs are installed on this machine? And getting into software, you can see all the software that's installed on this machine. This is a big deal about who we are because we know that software asset management is super complex. There's all this data. We normalize this data for you. You know, this product here fits in this category. You know, that sort of features. If it's a Windows machine, you can see additional features like what are in the startup items, what are the shared drives that are mounted, what services are running on this machine. And of course, with asset management, we track the financials. This is a huge part of asset management. When is the warranty expiration? How does this depreciate? That should say 5%. That way I can calculate my percentage of depreciation and understand where I'm losing money. There's a ton of features in here that I'm glossing over, but you can see, hopefully, how this would provide an easier and simpler experience for you. Now, I'll go back to my slideshow here. Why do people select InvGate? For those very purposes that I showed you. We allow you to manage your own autonomy. We allow you to build a simple process and build simplicity into your work, and of course, through adoption. I hope that I've opened your mind and maybe even expanded your horizons about what you can do on your service desk when it feels complex, when it feels chaotic, when it feels fragile. The complex doesn't need to be complicated. And I hope that if you don't select us as a vendor, that you at least are inspired to deliver better service, because good service is good business. Now, I've got some time for questions here. Do you want me to look through the questions here, Ashley?
Matt, no, that's great. I'll pull a few out of the list. So because the wider audience can't see them. So I've got a good question here. So does the solution come with a full IT service management suite? So for example, CMDB, and can it integrate with third-party apps?
Yes. So we do everything that every other service management vendor kind of does: incident, problem, change, config. I just don't show that usually in demos because they're gotchas, right? Of course, it's table stakes. So yes, we do CMDB.
Excellent. Another question here is, can you assign tasks to any user type, or does the user have to be a resolver or a user with specific access permissions?
They would need to be an agent to manage tasks, but that really is the only restriction.
Okay. How long would an implementation, including customization, last for an organization as a mid-size organization? For example, if they were looking at 12 to 15 ITIL processes.
I love that question. Oh my gosh, that's such a good scope qualifier in there too. Fantastic. 12 to 15 ITIL processes. Oh my gosh. And you're a middle-sized organization. Oh my gosh. You must be very mature. Congratulations. And we see our implementations take very short amount of times. I used to work for a competitor that I won't mention that took years to implement in some cases. Most of our customers are going live between 1 and 3 months maximum. For 12 to 15 ITIL processes, it might take a little bit longer just because you're more mature, so you probably have more specific things that you want to tweak. But in most cases, like I said, there's not much coding. And so oftentimes our implementations go really fast. If you're just doing asset management, for example, you can be live today. It doesn't take that long to go live on asset management.
Cool. So you mentioned in your presentation use of large language models. This question comes in and says, is it AI enabled for predictive analysis and resolutions?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because we are developing some of the things that vendors have been promising in this space, and I am so excited to be able to announce them. They're coming, but it's not doing it yet. And the reason that we are taking a little bit longer on that is because we want to make sure that it's working the way that we expect it to. A lot of times you see bias, you see hallucinations, you see people using public LLM data to find that predictive analysis. We don't want to be doing any of that. We want to be able to protect your data and do it the right way. So we're kind of still developing in that space, but follow us because I'm excited to show off our features in January.
So many questions coming through. We still have a few more minutes. So another one here is, how is the product model data kept? And is it kept actual or accurate? And are all assets and respective attributes mapped automatically by Discovery?
Oh, great question. So if you've got an agent installed, then it is going to keep actual accurate data at all times. Whenever something changes on the machine, that agent is dialing home. So for instance, we had a customer that was trying to track stolen GPUs because Bitcoin mining was becoming so popular. And so we made it, so that we rolled out our asset management software. And anytime someone would restart a machine because they had to turn it off to take out the GPU, we would detect which GPU's installed and then dial home and tell us what's there. For discovery stuff, you get to kind of manage how often assets are being discovered. They are not mapped automatically in discovery. I really want to say yes to that question. And we are working on that. That's kind of our other focus on in R&D is automatic mapping of discovery. But it sounds like you should come and get a demo, because if you're thinking about asset management and configuration management like this, you should definitely talk to us.
Okay, cool. This morning there were a couple of presentations around new employees, onboarding and offboarding, and one of those questions has come through and says, does your tool offer such functionality?
Yes, definitely. One of the most common integrations is the ability to have one of those workflows that does onboarding. Not only just general onboarding, though, and I think that's kind of a key here. What a lot of vendors will tell you is that you can have one workflow for onboarding, and you cannot. You need multiple workflows for each of your personas in most cases now. But yes, definitely something we do. Make an Entra ID, remove an Entra ID, etc.
Okay. And with the last 30 seconds, is there an opportunity to announce the closure of problem in an instance to all affected as a group when they close the ticket?
Yes, definitely. For major incidents and problems, even changes, sometimes you kind of want this. So yeah, we definitely have the ability to have those sub tickets be updated by the parent ticket. Huge feature, massive for communication. Great question.
Right. Matt, you so far have the award for the most questions at the end of a session. And there are still a few more for you to review and look at. So thanks to you and thanks to the audience for a very engaging session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you want a personalized demo, please feel free to reach out. We're excited to show off our stuff, obviously.